All right, look, I don't know what crawled up Kyle's wazoo, all right, but Kyle Kulinski explains why he's going to war against Joe Rogan. Now, let me be clear here, all right? There's a whole pecking order in social media, and Joe Rogan has the largest, most successful podcast, at least in recent history, okay? And look, he started off with nothing, okay? And he built that empire of his up. I got to give credit where credit's due. And to be on his platform, being on his show is a huge boost to whoever is going to be on there, especially for their social media and everything else. Kyle Kulinski was given the privilege to be interviewed by Joe Rogan. And the thing is, apparently, Kyle Kulinski just now wants to go to war because I guess of some of the guests that have been on Joe Rogan's show. Now, look, all right, some Rogan interviews I really like that are very thought provoking. Others are like, whatever. But the thing is, to be a good showrunner, if you're going to have guests on your show, you got to be engaging with your guests, and you have to have a wide range, diversity of guests on your show. I guess somehow Kyle just doesn't like that. I mean, Kyle, you've interviewed people, of course. That one time when Bernie Sanders kicked you off so that, Crystal can interview him instead of you and Crystal. But I mean, that's a story for another day. But with Emma Vigeland, he talks about why he's going to war. And even Emma Vigeland chimes in by saying she went on Tim Pool's show with the intention of not getting invited back. Just as a side note here, folks, while you're here, in this business, if you're going to be doing that by being a horrible guest, that also causes a blacklist on you, okay? Where people just don't want to speak to you, even those that might politically align with you. Because if you're going to be a bad guest, well, who wants to take that risk of having you on their show? I mean, then you are putting yourself at risk of just only putting yourself in one little bubble, one little safe space. I've been on other people's shows, libertarian and yes, even Republican shows, okay? And my intention was to be a good guest, but also give my thoughts and comments and have engaging conversations with people. Okay. But by being a bad guest, okay, that kind of sucks. But you don't take my word for it. Brace yourself. Kyle Kulinski's putting on his big boy pants. Why he's going to war against Joe Rogan. Brace yourself, man. Again, Kyle, I don't know what that hair dye's done to your brain, but get help, man.
Then you're fake independent media. You're not real independent media. And I'm now going to war because what we saw is a lot of these people like Joe Rogan, I was there. I was on his show 4 or 5 times. He would sit there and nod in agreement when I would make anti-Trump arguments and arguments in favor of a left-wing worldview. Then 3 weeks later, Ben Shapiro would come on and say the exact opposite of me on every issue, and he would nod along in agreement, right? And so at some point, you got to call a spade a spade. You're not independent media, and you're clearly just a vibes-based voter, right? You cocooned yourself in this right-wing echo chamber where you got right-leaning UFC people and right-leaning comedians, and Dana White, his boss, is super right-wing and loves MAGA. He put himself in this echo chamber. COVID.
No, he didn't. He didn't put himself in any echo chamber. And I've seen, again, Rogan try with much of his might and his ability and his team to do so to get Kamala Harris on his show. Same Joe Rogan who had Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang on his show way back during the 2020 Democratic primaries. Same Joe Rogan who's interviewed other progressives, Cenk was even on the Joe Rogan Experience, okay? There was a lot of people on Joe Rogan's show. It's not an echo chamber, but you have to remember, so many attacks happen to Joe Rogan by the quote-unquote liberals, okay? Constantly smearing him and slandering him, calling him racist and homophobic and sexist and misogynist and all these other isms. And even when he endorsed Bernie Sanders, that seemed to trigger the AOC. Maybe this is going to be a controversial statement here, but that interview Joe Rogan did was not only Donald Trump, it was his VP, J.D. Vance. It is abundantly clear it also gave them an additional boost to a campaign that was on the pathway to victory.
It helped to break his brain. And then look at that. He goes full MAGA. And you know what? That makes me look like a jackass because I was the one going in there, taking him at face value, acting kind, holding his hand and walking him through it like he was a toddler.
Oh, I dare you to say that to Joe Rogan in his face. I dare you. No. You dumb, stupid. This man's dumb, stupid, or dumb. I don't know. He's trying to act tough. It's easy to be tough and a keyboard warrior. But when you gotta go face to face, toe to toe, a whole other word right there. Torwin says, going to war. LOL, this little soy biatch couldn't fight his way out of a pepper bag. He ran away from Jimmy Dore like a little girl. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think we all remember a little bit of the infamous conflict, the fallout that happened with that. And look, here's the thing. I'll be generous here. I understood where Kyle was coming from because he saw Jank and Jimmy fighting, you know, and it was for him. He knew them both, and I think it was a very overwhelming experience that he wasn't prepared for. But then again, too, when those accusations towards Jimmy Dore were happening, I didn't like that, and I remember how pissed off Jimmy Dore was. I was pissed off too. And Kyle, you did ran away from Jimmy. Okay. Same as Jimmy Dore that had you on his show, talked about you too and had all that good stuff. All the good times, I guess, thrown out the window. And now you want to go to war with Joe Rogan? Are you sure you want that smoke, boss? Hey, boss, Kyle, you sure you want that? Because ever since November 5th, man, you have been posting some cringe
on these topics. And then, wow, in retrospect, would you look at that? You completely flipped. I mean, we were defending him, unfortunately, way too late, right? When people were already on to, I don't know, man, he's saying a little bit more right-wing things here. And we would be like, well, no, look, here's a compilation of all the times Joe Rogan said base things. He argued for universal health care. He argued for free college. He argued for higher minimum wage and this good thing. And I would show that compilation and go, see, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But guess what? When you decide I'm going to endorse Donald Trump after he lied to your face relentlessly for the entire podcast, telling brazen lies, then I'm sorry, all the charity is gone, all the sympathy is gone, and I have to come to a different conclusion now. My conclusion of you could hold these people's hands and walk them through it and talk to them like they're reasonable and work it out. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. And that's why you see a much more bold, aggressive style out of me where I'm like, fuck these people. And the
bold, aggressive style. I remember way early on, somewhere in mid-November, where people were saying that, oh my goodness, CNN and MSNBC are hemorrhaging viewers. And then I think it was Crystal who said, yeah, like everyone who used to watch MSNBC is now going to watch Kyle's show. Listen, Kyle went to bat for the Democrats. Hell, they were going to bat for Marianne Williamson, okay, who was a very weak candidate in the Democratic primary, okay, of 2024. It was downright pathetic and very, 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 hold on, very sad and dumb, stupid, and dumb. Okay. But this bold, aggressive action, now you're doing it now that it's safe to be critical against Democrats. And also because of the orange boogeyman in the White House, you could be a little bit meaner. Where was this spine? Where was this courage? Way early on in the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. Because, seems to me that a lot of the people who are part of that vote blue, no matter whose sphere, really thought that Biden and then later on Kamala had it in the bag, which they didn't.
Of course, they wrote in on because if what I did before didn't work, okay, I got to try a different approach now. So if it's just call these people the fucking frauds they are, well, then guess what? We're going to call them the frauds that they are.
But don't be like hard on yourself in that way. I mean, Bernie Sanders did the same thing where he was trying to go there. And I thought at the point Rogan could be reasoned with in that way. And his audience, it was important to try to communicate with them. Like the thing is like go on all these platforms. It's like why I went on Tim Pool, but I'm going to go there in a way where I'm not going to try to get invited back.
That's a dumb decision. Now, listen, I know a couple people who watch my show have their own podcasts. I know Dr. Donnie, Mastermind Hour, Charlie Brown. I know you guys are doing your own podcast too. And for that, I encourage you and I give you a full salute. And I apologize if I'm missing anybody else here, but I'm pretty sure Sabby, Do Dissidents, INN, and a couple other people would agree with me by saying this. If you are going on another person's show, yes, have your opinions and your facts, but you don't go in there trying to cause a mess or be a bad guest because the internet's forever and things can be twisted and formed around. And look, if you're not prepared to go on another person's show that thinks politically different than you, then maybe, pause, wait, read up a little bit, but don't go there with the intention of being a bad guest Because what if in turn it's an Uno reverse card and it causes you to get humiliated and it doesn't work the way you want it to work? There's a thing called being very tactful and being smart in this business. Because one wrong move, bingo bango, it's all gone. And Kyle now wanted to go to war with Joe Rogan. Rogan's probably going to be looking at him like a flea on his back, flick him off and say like, Kyle who? A bird goes tweet and Al goes, who? Let's rewind that.
And frauds they are, well, then guess what? We're going to call them the frauds that they are.
But don't be like hard on yourself in that way. I mean, Bernie Sanders did the same thing where he was trying to go there. And I thought the point Rogan could be reasoned with in that way. And his audience, it was important to try to communicate with them. Like the thing is like go on all these platforms. It's like why I went on Tim Pool, but I'm going to go there in a way where I'm not going to try to get invited back. Like I'm going to go there and try to.
Right. Adversarial. Right.
At this point, specifically with explicitly right-wing outlets, you got to go in there and you've got to eat their lunch because the only time that
no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because I've had libertarians and yes, even conservatives come on my show. I mean, yes, while I've had some engaging conversations with them, it never got to the point to where we were ripping each other's faces off. That's like dumb. I don't believe in that. That's not how I run my shows. And when I go on another person's show, I make it my goal not to let it happen. Save for the time when I yelled at Howie Hawkins. I'm not perfect. It was on the Larry Sharpe show. I yelled at Howie Hawkins, and I feel bad about it. Okay, I kind of feel bad about it, but anyway. I feel a little bad about that. I feel a little bad about that. But anyways, you got to eat their lunch. Say again, Emma.
At this point, specifically with explicitly right-wing outlets, you got to go in there and you've got to eat their lunch because the only time that leftists get reinvited to these places is if you validate everything that they say. Right. And then that creates a perverse incentive for those leftist communicators as well, because there's so much more money on that side of the equation.
Yes, so much more money on that side of the equation. Well, the thing is, folks, it's just your daily dose of internet drama, but of stupidity. Learn to pick your fights, okay? And trying to go to war against Joe Rogan. I mean, is Kyle trying to step up and be the answer that MSNBC and CNN are looking for? A left version of Joe Rogan podcast? CNN, MSNBC, vote blue, Democrats. I hate to tell this to you, but in 3, 2, 1, and an Uno and out with an Uno reverse card and a draw 4 and a skip you did have a left Joe Rogan show. It was the Joe Rogan show. You guys kept on smearing him and slandering him. You guys were telling him, oh, you shouldn't have this guest on your show and you shouldn't have that person on your show. You shouldn't do this and you shouldn't have that person. You shouldn't talk to this person. You shouldn't do that at all. Well, I know what it's like to have somebody tell you, oh, you shouldn't interview this person or that person. But guess what? Show running 101 is having a good show is having a wide diversity of guests. Okay. That's what you're supposed to do. Conversations. That's how Joe Rogan became #1. Simple as that. But folks, I'll have democracy in the chat and I'll give you the final word. Do you think Kyle Kulinski will win his war against Joe Rogan? Type 1 for yes, kid, he will. You'll see. I type 2. No, it's going to be more of notice me, senpai. And Rogan's going to be like, who are you again?